Stoics lived long, meaningful lives and learned how to observe and understand people. They believe that the body, including women's bodies, can reveal a lot about a person's personality, feelings and wants. By focusing on small details, we can find intriguing psychological facts that may go against what most people think. Today, we're going to look into the psychology behind some physical traits, specifically women's bodies, and how they might reveal hidden truths. Before we start, make sure you watch the whole video. If you like this kind of content, please like, subscribe, and leave a comment below with your thoughts or personal experiences. There are 7 parts that are guaranteed to shock you. The first one is about what a small nose means. Have you ever noticed that women with smaller noses seem to have certain traits that make them stand out? It may sound strange, but it's true. For a long time, people have believed that other parts of a woman's body, particularly her intimate anatomy, also known as her six, could influence the size of her nose. This notion has persisted, prompting individuals to question its veracity. The Stoics, people who study human behavior and biology, saw the nose as more than a face part. To them, it could have been a way to learn about a person's overall health, vitality, and even personality traits. Evolutionary perspectives often view a smaller nose as a feminine trait. Society associates smaller noses with a sense of delicacy or fragility, which makes people wonder what this might mean about a woman's intimate anatomy. Science may not support the link between nose size and body features, but people's perceptions strongly support it. Many people believe that a smaller nose is preferable. A smaller nose could reveal a more refined and compact private area, aligning with the notion that a smaller frame or feature is frequently associated with elegance or subtlety. This idea comes from ancient beliefs that different parts of a person's body and face could tell more about their sexuality and body. It's simple to feel safe making these kinds of assumptions. People have always wanted to organize and understand the world. This includes how we understand physical traits, especially when it comes to sexuality and desire. For centuries, people have interpreted a woman's small nose as a symbol of her femininity, signifying her overall softness, elegance, and occasionally the size of her intimate anatomy. It's important to note that this belief varies across cultures. Some cultures highly value a small nose as a sign of beauty and refinement. People often perceived women with smaller noses as possessing delicate, almost ethereal qualities that extended to other parts of their bodies. In these cultures, the nose became a symbol of grace, and people thought it could tell you about a woman's overall physical traits, including the size of her intimate areas. However, it's important to remember that no two women are the same, and while these kinds of physical correlations might appeal to our sense of order and predictability, they don't always hold true. Stoic philosophy emphasizes the significance of observing without hastily drawing conclusions. The fact that a woman has a small nose doesn't mean that her body will fit into a certain category. The human body is very flexible and can surprise us in many ways. This belief about nose size and intimate anatomy may be more a result of cultural norms and psychological tendencies than a solid psychological fact. People may believe in these physical links to find trends in attraction and relationships which are unpredictable. Small things can help people figure out how to handle the complexities of physical and mental connections. Even though a small nose is only one part of a person's appearance, it can lead to assumptions about their body and sexuality. While these assumptions may make for interesting reading, Stoics caution against taking them as fact. Also, media and cultural beauty standards have made the connection between a small nose and refinement and femininity stronger in modern times. People often perceive a nose that resembles a button, an ideal, particularly in Western cultures. This perception reinforces the idea that a small nose equals a delicate feminine appearance and, by extension, a delicate, small, intimate anatomy. However, as the Stoics might remind us, beauty standards are fluid and subjective. What one culture values in terms of physical traits, another might see as unremarkable. It's also interesting to consider how the nose fits into the larger picture of facial symmetry and overall attractiveness. Psychological studies have long suggested that symmetry in the face plays a key role in how we perceive beauty. A small nose can contribute to this symmetry, enhancing the perception of attractiveness and, for some, even hinting at refined physical features elsewhere. However, it's important to approach these beliefs with a degree of skepticism and nuance. Every woman is unique, and while cultural and psychological factors may lead us to draw connections between certain features, the Stoics would urge us to delve deeper. In conclusion, while the size of a woman's nose might spark curiosity and serve as a point of discussion, it's just one part of her overall essence. Cultural beliefs and psychological tendencies root the notion that a smaller nose signifies a more refined, intimate anatomy. But we must approach this topic with an open mind, understanding that no single physical trait can define a person's entire being. Each woman, with her unique features, offers far more than what we can deduce from a single characteristic, like the size of her nose. Chapter 2. The meaning behind delicate hands throughout history. Delicate hands in women have often been associated with elegance, grace, and refinement. People often perceive women with smaller, more delicate hands as embodying a gentleness and femininity that transcends physical appearance. However, some also hold the belief that these hands could signify specific traits in other parts of the body, especially in their intimate anatomy. Despite the lack of scientific evidence, this notion persists in various cultural beliefs and psychological folklore, demonstrating humanity's continuous fascination with the relationship between various physical features. The Stoics, renowned for their ability to observe the natural world and human behavior, likely viewed hands not only as physical traits, but also as symbols of one's interaction with life. From a Stoic perspective, hands serve as the instruments through which we interact with the world, shape our environment, and express ourselves. Smaller, more delicate hands may symbolize a subtle, controlled approach to life, possibly indicating careful restraint or mindfulness. However, when it comes to interpreting body features, some have proposed that smaller hands may suggest more petite or refined body characteristics overall, including a smaller stature. This belief is rooted in the broader notion that smaller physical traits in one area of the body tend to correspond with similarly refined or delicate traits elsewhere. However, it's essential to approach these ideas with a sense of balance and caution. Physical traits like hand size are just one small piece of the puzzle that makes up an individual, while people are often tempted to draw connections between different aspects of a person's appearance. Every woman is unique, and her hands may tell one story, while other parts of her body tell another. It's crucial to avoid overgeneralizing or making assumptions based solely on appearance. Beyond physical traits, hands can also reveal a lot about a person's personality and temperament. Women with delicate hands might project a sense of gentility and reserve, but that doesn't necessarily mean they are timid or passive. Hands are also powerful tools of expression, communicating everything from assertiveness to sensuality through subtle gestures. Whether a woman is more hands-on, an active, or prefers a softer, more reserved approach to life, her hands are often the first to reveal her true nature for a woman who hasn't experienced physical intimacy in a long time. Her delicate hands might carry additional symbolic meaning. They may represent the restraint and control she's practiced over time, a sign of the careful boundaries she's maintained. Her hands may show the tension between desire and caution, between longing for connection and the need to maintain her personal space. Pay attention to how she uses her hands in your interactions. Whether she's more open and expressive or keeps them close to her body may give you insight into her comfort level and her emotional state. At the same time, be mindful of the small, often unnoticed ways that hands can communicate a woman's desires or hesitations. A slight touch on your arm, a brush of her fingers against yours, or even the way she holds an object can reveal much more than words ever could. In certain situations, a woman may subconsciously express her attraction or interest through these small, delicate gestures. These small, delicate gestures can express a woman's attraction or interest, prompting the Stoics to caution against making hasty assumptions. Hands, like any other physical feature, are a window into the soul, but they are not the whole story. A woman's delicate hands. A woman's delicate hands can reveal various aspects, ranging from her physical composition to her emotional state, but it's crucial to observe them objectively without drawing any conclusions. Let her actions and words guide you, and remain attuned to the nuances of her body language. With patience and attentiveness, you can uncover the deeper layers of who she is, far beyond the surface-level traits that first catch your eye. In the end, delicate hands are just one part of the broader, more complex picture that makes up a woman's essence. While they may reveal subtle clues about her body or her inner self, it's essential to approach with sensitivity and understanding. Every woman is unique, and her hands, like her heart, will tell their story in their own time and in their own way. Chapter 3. Gap teeth and their implications. There's something undeniably striking about a woman with gap teeth. While this distinct physical trait might seem like an unusual focal point for understanding other parts of the body, cultural beliefs and folklore have long associated gap teeth with certain intimate traits. Specifically, there has been a belief persisting from ancient times into the present that women with gap teeth often have smaller 6 areas, making this a topic of intrigue in many discussions about feminine features and body language from a Stoic perspective that values observation and reflection. The Stoics would have appreciated the human instinct to find meaning in small details and seemingly unrelated traits, viewing every aspect of the human body as a potential reflection of one's inner self. Why have we linked gap teeth to smaller, intimate areas when they would have simply been another facet of a person's uniqueness, not necessarily tied to physical traits elsewhere? This belief could be rooted in a broader cultural fascination with symmetry and proportion. In many societies, a perfectly aligned smile has been associated with conventional beauty. Gap teeth disrupt this typical alignment, creating a kind of imbalance that might lead some to speculate about other misalignments or unique qualities in the body, including intimate anatomy. In this context, the idea of small is often associated with neatness, refinement, and control qualities historically linked with femininity and attraction. From a psychological standpoint, gap teeth can evoke a sense of intrigue and fascination. It's a rare trait, and human nature often leads us to be drawn to what is unusual or unique when encountering someone with gap teeth. People might start questioning whether other parts of their body share similar uniqueness or possess uncommon characteristics. This curiosity can also lead some to believe that a woman with gap teeth might also have a more delicate, smaller, intimate anatomy. The notion of a connection between physical traits stems more from cultural mythology and psychological associations than from scientific facts. However, it underscores the long-standing human endeavor to connect various physical attributes, searching for patterns in the body. The Stoics, on the other hand, caution against letting assumptions cloud our judgment. Regardless of having gap teeth, every woman is unique in her own right and deserves appreciation for her individuality. In today's society, many embrace gapped teeth as a symbol of individuality and charm, contributing to their inherent beauty. Women with gaping teeth often flaunt. Those with gap teeth are proud of them and see them as unique features. The idea that gap teeth might reveal anything about intimate anatomy doesn't seem as relevant today, when physical diversity is praised and individuality is valued over conformity, even though it has its roots in cultural curiosity. While some individuals continue to associate gap teeth with smaller, intimate areas, it's crucial to acknowledge that this association stems from myth and opinion, not scientific fact. Today, gap teeth really show a woman's personality and confidence, not just her looks. They also show how she feels about herself in general. At the end of the day, the idea that gap teeth are connected to intimate anatomy is still an interesting cultural thought. One way people try to make sense of the body is by looking at its outside. It's straightforward to be interested in these connections. Furthermore, it's crucial to acknowledge that a single trait cannot encapsulate the human body and its inhabitants. Just as a woman's smile, whether gapped or not, only reveals a small portion of her story, these beliefs also only reveal a small portion of our perceptions of femininity and sexuality. Chapter 4. The effects of cheek structure on a woman's cheek structure. For a long time, people have believed that women with fuller, rounder cheeks typically have smaller cheek areas. This idea, along with many others about the body, has stuck around. Some cultures believe that certain facial traits can give you information about more private parts of the body. These beliefs have shaped society's perception of women throughout history. Despite the lack of scientific evidence supporting beauty and sexuality, the Stoics consistently held these beliefs. People who were interested in the connections between the mind and body might have viewed this with interest, as physical traits were not only signs of beauty, but also indicators of a person's health and vitality. People often assume that women with fuller cheeks may have smaller, more refined, intimate areas, as they appear more youthful and fertile. Popular belief about anatomy has become deeply ingrained. This oversimplifies how much people want to find meaning in their bodies and use them to express other parts of themselves. There's no scientific basis for this link, but it does show a larger psychological tendency to connect bodies with certain ideas of femininity. People believe that a woman with fuller cheeks appears softer, potentially leading to the assumption that her private parts are similarly soft or small. This notion is not new. It has influenced everything from the portrayal of women in art and sculpture to the assessment of beauty by society. The assumption that having bigger cheeks implies having a smaller six is another example of how people use physical traits to make assumptions about the body, often without solid evidence to support them. This notion also contributes to people's curiosity, measure and symmetry. Fuller cheeks reflect a well-rounded, balanced face, and many people believe this balance might extend to the rest of the body. Nature naturally draws us to balance. People have long associated symmetry with beauty, and the unconscious relationship between facial structure and body composition continues to influence their perception of each other, particularly in terms of attractiveness and femininity. While these ideas are very interesting, it's important to remember that every woman's body is different. Just because a woman has fuller cheeks doesn't mean that her intimate anatomy will follow a certain pattern. The Stoics would tell us to observe without judgment, realizing that beauty comes in many forms and that looks alone can't tell the whole story. They would probably say that these beliefs take away from the more important parts of human connection, like intellect, virtue, and character. After all, the Stoic way of life stresses differences over outward appearances. In a deeper way, the link between fuller cheeks and smaller intimate areas may also come from social norms. We've learned to connect certain body types and facial features with certain traits. In this case, we perceive fuller cheeks as soft, feminine, and under control, leading us to believe that these women also possess refined features. People often don't notice these cultural assumptions on other parts of their bodies, but all of a sudden they shape our thoughts and expectations, which can affect everything from date choices to self-esteem. Ultimately, the idea that fuller cheeks mean a smaller, intimate area is more of a cultural fascination than a scientific fact. However, like many other body-related myths, it continues to shape our ideas about what makes someone beautiful, feminine, and sexual in subtle ways. Whether this idea is true or not, it's fascinating to see how we think about the human body through a cultural lens. It demonstrates how societal values shape our perceptions of what makes someone attractive or desirable. Chapter 5 focuses on the physical appearance of thin women. One common belief about women's bodies is that slim women tend to have smaller body areas. People have long held the belief that a woman's overall body composition reveals her intimate anatomy. This belief stems from cultural and psychological factors. For instance, people often attribute smaller, more refined, intimate areas to slim women with their lean frames and compact figures. The Stoics, who were always aware of the connection between the body and the mind, would have been interested in this belief because they saw physical traits as signs of overall health, balance, and harmony. People often associate a slim woman's body with control and restraint, leading them to perceive other parts of her body as compact and refined. The idea that slim women have smaller, intimate areas is part of societal norms about femininity and attraction. People have long associated being slim with youth, vitality, and beauty, and many believe that these attributes also apply to intimate anatomy. The leaner the frame, the smaller the intimate area. This belief still affects how we think about women's bodies on a psychological level. This belief may also stem from our natural desire to find patterns and links. We may perceive a thin woman's body as exemplifying efficiency and compactness, thereby forming the belief that her intimate anatomy follows a similar organization. Beyond aesthetics, the association between slimness and refinement influences our perception of a woman's intimate features. However, it's important to be skeptical about this belief. While it may be tempting to guess a woman's intimate anatomy based on her overall body shape, the truth is much more complicated. Every woman's body is different, and being thin doesn't always mean having smaller, intimate areas. In modern times, media and beauty standards have made the focus on being thin even stronger. Often, we see thin women. People think that slim women are more refined in every way, including their intimate anatomy. However, as the Stoics would assert, appearances can be misleading. In the end, the idea that slim women have smaller, intimate areas is more of a cultural assumption than a scientific fact. It may be interesting to look at body composition from this point of view, but it's important to remember that every woman is different, and no single physical trait can define her overall essence or intimate anatomy. Chapter 6. Breast size and body characteristics in the world of body-related myths. One of the most talked about topics is the connection between a woman's breast size and other intimate parts of her body. For example, when a woman has small breasts, people often think she might also be thinner and more compact, and this includes assumptions about her intimate anatomy. A very common opinion is that women with small breasts may also have vaginas that are smaller and tighter. Generation after generation has passed down this idea, but it remains more of a cultural, natural law than a scientific fact. Stoic philosophers, who valued self-control and observation, may have been intrigued but wary of this theory. The human body was a physical vessel, and while someone's appearance could give hints about their health or habits, they wouldn't have relied too heavily on these clues. Instead, they would say that deeper interactions and observations are better for getting to know someone physically, emotionally, and spiritually than superficial traits like breast size. Looking at someone's outside features to guess about their private parts would be missing the point of discovering their flaws and strengths. However, there is still a common misconception that smaller breasts indicate a smaller body structure. This idea likely stems from the perception that women with smaller breasts are generally slimmer and have better body shapes. This is because women with small breasts tend to have leaner bodies. People often apply this belief to other parts of the body, particularly the intimate ones. For example, many people think that a woman with smaller breasts will have a tighter or more refined vagina, as if body proportions must always follow a predictable pattern. From a psychological point of view, this belief may come from the way people connect body parts to make a whole image. People often believe that having small breasts makes you more feminine, and in a more subtle way, they believe that having a smaller, more delicate vagina also enhances your femininity. This culture fixation on size goes all the way to the vagina. The links between breasts and how people see women's intimate anatomy are not based on science. Instead, they come from deeply held cultural beliefs about what it means to be feminine. These beliefs persist because they fit with long-held stereotypes about women's bodies. Society often associates larger body parts such as breasts, hips and thighs with fertility and sensuality, while viewing smaller body parts as refined and controlled, which contributes to the persistence of this belief. People often perceive women with small breasts as less sexual or reserved, implying that their intimate anatomy is similarly more reserved. However, this stereotype doesn't always hold up to scrutiny because every woman's body is different. No amount of outside observation can accurately predict the specifics of someone's intimate features, and this is an area where myths tend to take precedence over reality. It's also important to note how fashion and beauty standards have affected these perceptions throughout history. When curvier, bigger bodies were in style in the past, people perceived women with small breasts as lacking in femininity. Now, when people praise slim, lean bodies, the opposite is true. It's a common belief that women with small breasts tend to have smaller, intimate anatomy. The fashion industry, media, and even social circles contribute to this belief, even though it's not based on facts. At the end of the day, the Stoic approach would remind us that we can't fully understand someone's personality or physicality based on outward traits like breast size. These beliefs may persist, but they don't reflect the complexity of the human body. A woman with small breasts is just as feminine, sensual, or vital as someone with a larger chest. Her physical traits, though often emphasized, are just one part of her. Stoics would encourage a mindset of detachment from such superficial judgments, urging us to appreciate the full range of human beauty without putting too much emphasis on single features. This brings us to the main point. Society often makes assumptions about other body parts based on breast size. These beliefs are based on cultural opinions rather than real facts. The Stoics would tell us to look past such shallow opinions and realize that we can't fully understand a woman's true essence by only looking at her body. Each person's body is a complicated and unique reflection of their own life, and reducing it to simple stereotypes takes away from how unique they are. Chapter 7. Understanding the B-leg and its relationship to the rest of the body. The so-called B structure is another part of the body that has gotten a lot of attention. Although this term is rarely discussed, it describes the shape and positioning of a woman's legs, where a small outward curve creates a B shape, when viewed from the front or side. People who believe in body-related myths say that women with this leg structure tend to have smaller, intimate areas. The Stoics, who were always aware of and interested in details, would have been fascinated by these ideas. They believed that the body could reveal clues about a person's inner state, but they also warned against making snap judgments. In the case of the bee leg, the Stoics would have known that while this might be an intriguing feature, it doesn't necessarily reveal deeper truths about a woman's body or intimate anatomy. The idea that a woman with this leg might have a smaller, intimate area comes from the same psychological tendencies that lead to other body-related beliefs, just like people look to small noses, gapped teeth, or slim figures as signs of a woman's physical traits. The shape of the bee leg has also drawn attention. People generally think about symmetry, proportion, and balance, and this view is part of those ideas. People think that a woman with bee legs, which show a certain level of refinement and delicacy in her lower body, has a similarly refined, intimate area. This belief may have more to do with cultural preferences than with biology, but it does show our deep-seated desire to find patterns in the human form. We like to think that certain features, like a woman's legs, can reveal bigger truths about her whole body. The bee leg's elegant curves become a symbol of feminine refinement, and this idea carries over to assumptions about intimate anatomy. There's also a psychological side to this belief that's worth looking into. People often think that women with bee legs are more graceful and poised in their movements. The idea that their bodies are compact, controlled, and proportionate, which in turn leads to the assumption that their intimate anatomy is similarly structured, links to this sense of grace. It's important to remember, though, that these links between leg structure and intimate anatomy are largely speculative. There is no scientific evidence to support the idea that women with bee legs have smaller intimate areas than women with other leg shapes. However, this myth lives on because it appeals to our desire to understand the human body in simple visual terms. From a Stoic perspective, it's more beneficial to concentrate on the body's overall health, strength, and vitality instead of narrow physical traits such as the bee leg. While it's tempting to draw conclusions from these visible markers, they don't provide a complete picture of a woman's body or her intimate areas. The link between our legs and our smaller, more intimate anatomy is another example of how we use patterns and physical clues to try to make sense of the human shape. While the idea may seem intriguing, it's crucial to engage in critical thinking and remember that each woman's body is unique, devoid of simple formulas or assumptions. The Stoics would tell us that real understanding comes from going beyond appearances and recognizing the deeper complexities of the human experience. As this episode comes to a close, it's clear that the human body, and women's bodies in particular, have a lot of meaning in terms of how we see them and how we interpret different physical traits, from small noses to breast signs, leg structure, and everything in between. Society has long tried to make connections between external features and intimate anatomy, but as we've seen, these beliefs are often based on cultural assumptions rather than scientific facts. Stoics, who had a deep understanding of human nature and behavior, would tell us to carefully observe but not judge too quickly, because they believe that true wisdom comes from understanding the whole, not just the parts. A woman's body is complex and multifaceted, and every trait, big or small, is part of a bigger story of who she is. As tempting as it is to reduce someone to a set of physical features or myths, we must remember that every woman is different, and no amount of analysis can capture the full depth of her personality. The beliefs and bee-related myths we talked about today may be interesting, but they are not the ultimate truths. Instead, they serve as reminders of how people tend to look for patterns and meaning where there are none. They contribute to a deeper understanding of the uniqueness of women's bodies and serve as a reminder to approach these issues with both interest and respect. Whether a woman has small breasts, gapped teeth, B-legs, or any other identifying feature, these are just parts of her body and not who she is. The Stoics would tell us to focus on what lies beneath the surface and value character and strength above all else. Think about the ideas we've discussed today in a critical way. Remember to notice and question the women in your life and look beyond their superficial traits to see their full complexity. If you liked this show, please like, subscribe, and let us know what you think in the comments below. We want to hear your thoughts and stories about this topic. As long as we're talking, we'll never fully understand the human body, inside and out. Thanks for watching, and until next time, remember to take care of yourself and those around you.